Hello and welcome to today's content of preparing for the Final Fantasy XIV collaboration raid that starts this Wednesday. I'll be briefly going over the resistances and recommended units to bring for ease of clearing and autoing. Keep in mind, for this collaboration raid, there is no rare raid boss, so you only have to focus on the main one. First off, here are the resistances for the raid boss. It is weak to both light and dark elements, with dark elements having the elemental advantage as well because the boss is light type. All other elements, however, outside of these have a big 30% resistance, so without an imperil, 30% is a bit big of a resistance to overcome. Additionally, the raid boss is weak to slash type damage, and it's at negative 10%, while all other damage types are at 10%. Fortunately, 10% is actually not too high if you were to deviate from the slash type attacks, so it's not too much of a problem since it's only 10%. Like for example, if Kain uses Piercing Lance, the boss would now be at negative 10% pierce resistance, and it's equal to the negative slash resistance. However, certain units like, Gilgamesh could use Kotetsu to lower the slash resistance even more to a whole negative 48%, which could allow for insane damage per turn from almost any type of slasher that is light or dark. I would say to others, elementals as well, but because of the 30, it will offset a little bit of that damage because that is a lot of mitigation still. Lastly, for resistances, the boss has 0 defense and 40 spirit, so making any type of magic damage that it can take will have a very big uphill battle. You will have to lower the spirit or have spirit not mitigation but penetration to deal any type of meaningful damage. But the 0 defense is like the biggest part for all physical attackers, because it's at 0, it can easily go to negative with like a Hazard Crusher, Armor Cleaver, or Crush Armor. You could definitely take out the boss much more easier by lowering its defense. For ease of autoing and the easy setup, just in a general sense, bringing either a Dark Slasher to a team or a Light Slasher to the raid will be the best offensive and defensive choices. Because the boss is immune to steal time, but agility breaks and such still work, and imperils, bringing a Trinity or a full break will be very significant for turn order by fighting the boss. In the actual raid battle, there will be like ads and minions that will focus on doing light missile damage, so take that into consideration when bringing dark units and dark compositions. Additionally, the boss itself will focus on doing light slash damage, so having a bit of slash resistance will help for survival or having any type of survivability. And here we are for units to bring. So for on the dark side, for tank units, or that can also deal DPS, will be Dwayne, Kain, and Whisper. They can all tank because they have either a hate ability or a passive. Other than that, the top damage dealers for dark will be Rune Stern, Venera, and Stern. They all do top damage. With the defense down for Rune, Stern, and Venera, that'll help immensely when fighting the boss because you can easily hit higher damage very fast. Just to add in a little bit of MR tier variety, because I almost always do URs, and this I'm trying to like cut down on video time, I added in Gafgarian and Shadowlings because they can both help chain and deal very good damage. However, because they both have negative missile resistance, it is very recommended to have like a tank or mitigation for the missile type damage so they don't die in like 1 or 2 hits. One thing to note for the dark teams is that they will deal the most damage in this raid because they have the elemental advantage to the boss, but that also means they will take a lot more from the boss and the minions, so that is something to consider when making a dark type team. Moving on to the light units, we have Ramza, Warrior Light, and Engelbert all have access to tanking abilities because they have it either in a passive or ability. For these 3 specifically, they all have it in abilities. Outside of that, the top DPS will be Cecil and Rob with a large amount of attack because of the kit they have. They might be low HP or like negative missile resistance like Cecil, or low HP like Rob, but they still do very, very high damage to the boss here. So outside of them, Thancred can still deal very good damage, and he's very beefy as well, and he can help chain, so he is very viable of a unit here as well. And additionally, like the dark units, I just wanted to add a MR variety unit if it's possible, which only Vistral made the cut for being able to deal damage with his passives and his kit. I thought about Mariel, and maybe she could be a tank, however she didn't make the cut since her attacks and abilities would be extremely weak due to her stats, and it's mostly for magic and not physical, and since the boss has 40 spirit, her abilities and Spellblade will deal even less damage overall. Additionally, she has no slash resistance, so she could take a lot of damage from the boss, and her missile resistance isn't very high, and she doesn't have a lot of base defense, so for now, I left her out on the defense side. Next up is the equipment and vision cards. For the offensive side, we have the obviously well-renowned Bells and the Glaciella TMR, mostly the Bells. However, the Glaciella TMR gives you a good amount of AP just on the first usage, so you can output a little bit more attacks. The Oldora Apron will also work as well, but the defense penetration is not really used here because the boss has 0 defense, so there's not much to penetrate. You can only defense debuff it, so penetration here does not really matter. We could also say stuff like Cecil's TMR or like Luniverse and all that, but I'll just say the 2 equips for now because I don't want to go too much into like, oh, here's a list of everything you can do, because then there's too much information there at once. So for the defensive equipment, since there will be more minions than the boss itself, but the boss will be doing most of the damage, having some missile resistance from the multiple adds will help because they also have defense, and it helps in terms of survivability to both missile and physical attacks, which the minions and the boss will be focusing on. So the Platinum Robe and the Holy Knight shoulder pads will definitely help in this scenario. So for the vision cards, there are a lot of variety now nowadays because of we just had a lot more vision cards coming in now for both the offensive and defensive setups, and even missile resistance or like light elemental resistance, slash resistance, etc. So first off, we'll start on the offensive side. You can choose between many different vision cards here, like the light or dark elemental damage for the parties, depending on if you're going for a light team comp or a dark team comp. It would be based on your choice. Ifrit for the max attack percent for your entire party, and the Ramza vision card for agility if you need a little bit of speed up or like speed down, just a speed up in general, not a speed down, but it will help outpace the boss basically. If you use like a Trinity break on the boss to lower their agility, you have the Ramza card so you have much faster turns. That'd be a good combo. Also the two-headed dragon is very good for raids as well for everyone because you can hit above the damage cap by a certain amount. This will only be useful however if you're able to hit the damage cap, but since there are a lot of strong units to bring in this raid, hitting the damage cap will not really be a problem for dark units. Light units, probably Rob and Cecil can easily hit the damage cap, but with their multi-hit abilities, you would have to get to a good enough chain to hit max damage like multiple times, unless you're able to stack it up on the chain easily with Ramza or Thancred with their triple blow or the double blow. Same with Cecil, he also has the 2 shining double, but you get the point. Basically, overall, there's like a large amount of viable vision cards for this raid because it's not it's a collaboration raid, which as we can see from this pattern, it is much easier to clear and do compared to the non-collaboration raids. So there's a lot of flexibility here. Like if you have a dark team but like some people are dying sometimes, but you guys easily can hit the DPS mark, maybe try putting in like a missile or slash resistance vision card. It depends entirely on your setup and what you need for your own party. So before I close out this video, I just want to take the time a little bit to talk about possible predictions for the week to follow after the FF14 raid for anyone curious. First off, it's almost guaranteed that Sakura is coming out due to the schedule of units to be released, and since Gumi has never really done raids back to back, literally one day within each other, it's not really realistic for the Siren raid to come right after we finish the FF14 raid, so it's possible we will be getting the Porcelain Tower with Sakura. And there was talk about a new global exclusive unit. We don't know when. However, in my opinion and my guess, since if Siren Raid theoretically comes soon, because we had Niv Lu's release recently, the Rare Raid was designed for Japan's Summer Katone as well as Y'shtola. But for us in global, since we have both Y'shtola and Rain only and no Summer Katone, and not much else besides that, I'm making a random guess that the global exclusive unit, if it was supposed to come out with Sakura and the Porcelain Tower, kind of like how Rain has his tower with Freyavia, if that was supposed to happen, I would assume it might be like a fire or a magic attack type unit because the Siren Raid's the Rare Raid's weakness is fire and magic attack type. So that's my guess on it. But who can really know? I'm just guessing based on those like assumptions. I could be wrong for all I know because none of this is guaranteed and I'm just speculating. Anyways, the week after Sakura comes out or slash Tower, I would assume that the Siren Raid does come out because theoretically, if we perfectly put this on a schedule, since we have Raid now for FF14, we get Vision cards, as we'll be getting Leviathan. The week after, since there's no Raid, we'll be getting units, which theoretically is Sakura, and then Tower can fit in that time frame as well. A week after that, however, is another time for Vision cards, and since normally Raids come out, Raids are announced and then they come out with Vision cards, we could assume since Sakura's coming out, the week after will be a Vision card, and if it is a Vision card, we can assume maybe Siren Raid comes out at the same time. So it would be the Siren Raid with the Black Rose Vision card. It would just be kind of like perfect timing if they wanted to fit that all in at once. Regardless, anything I said here, take with a grain of salt. I could be completely wrong on my predictions, but it's nice to assume looking at all these predictions based on the release schedule. Once again, thanks for watching, and if you happen to enjoy my content, please comment, like, and subscribe, and until next time, peace out.